Thank you very much for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. If you're just joining us, it's time now to head to our next line of discussion. From health, education, commerce to agriculture, information and communications technology has been a major drive that aids the growth of many sectors in Nigeria. The ICT industry has continued to play a pivotal role in the country's gross domestic product while aiding job opportunities, but there is much to be done to effectively harness the potential of Nigeria's digital economy. The Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, now led by Bosun Tijani, is expected to bring in more innovations to revamp the ICT sector. And joining us from our Abuja studio to talk about this is an APC youth stalwart. He's also an ICT expert. Niyi Gbodimowo, thank you very much for joining us on TVC Breakfast. You're welcome. All right, let's look at the fact that Dr. Bosun Tijani is coming on board now to head the ministry, and there's also another leg that he will be supervising, so to speak, and that is about the new name now added to his designation to head economy, the digital economy space. What are your expectations as to how this can be a game changer in this very critical sector?
Good morning. Thank you very much. I think, first of all, I'd like to start off by just congratulating my brother, Bosun Tijani, who's now the Honorable Minister for Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. And I wish him all the best. His success is a success for Nigeria, a success for even the tech sector where I am domiciled, and of course it's a success for the government, the party of which I'm a member of. So with regard to your question, I think what is always helpful is to understand what we even mean by digital economy. It's a fancy term, but it's very clear. Let's define what we mean. A digital economy is essentially refers to the set of economic activities, the policies that are required to essentially help Nigeria harness the power of technology to drive, economic growth, job creation, and improving the standard of living of our people, right? And also, reforming our government to make it better and serve our people better. Now that Bosun Tijani has come into taking the baton, of leadership in that critical ministry, he has a monumental role to play in the success of this government. Well, good thing is that he doesn't have to start from the scratch. There's already a set of templates and policies on ground that will help any minister hit the ground running. If you go back to say 2019, around the end of 2019, under the former government, there was the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy published a document, right, that called Nigerian Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, that essentially lays out a template, a 10-year plan for how Nigeria can harness technology, can grow a digital economy, diversify revenues away from oil and gas, and essentially increase contribution of digital services in our GDP. That document essentially lays out about 8 pillars which is the template that we expect the minister and all these agency subheads to follow, so that we are not essentially moving around in the dark. It's a very clear and coherent set of policies, and that's what Nigerians really expect. If you just give me a second to just outline what they mean, what these pillars are. The first pillar, it has to do with regulation and the laws that essentially guide or provide clarity on where we are going. Things like the Nigerian Data Protection Act, the Startup Act that deals with investment into startups and the creative economy. Then you have another pillar, which is the digital skills and digital literacy. Because as you know, we can't, we don't have a good pipeline, a strong pipeline of talent and digitally literate citizens. We can't achieve all our goals in future. So that pillar deals with, training, mentorship, investment in, in the STEM value chain, ensuring that, even if we in future we want to be an AI leader, as a regional leader, we need to have a strong pipeline of technical talent that are trained in science, technology, engineering, and math. Then beyond that, there's another major pillar, which is perhaps one of the most important ones at the moment, which is a solid infrastructure. And key part of that is building our broadband. Right? So all around Nigeria, people, those of us that live in big cities, we have fairly good broadband. But once we step out of the big cities, the internet access and the data quality tends to drop significantly. So, and if you think about it from beyond just, okay, you need internet to browse, maybe WhatsApp, or use WhatsApp, or browse TikTok. The internet is used and data is used for very critical parts of our economy. For example, security. Across all our highways, we need monitors and CCTV cameras, across all our farms. Agriculture is a big part of our GDP. We need to make sure that we are driving agricultural technology. And of course, that also requires constant data access. So everywhere, if we want to grow our economy, we need to ensure that we have sufficient broadband coverage all across Nigeria. The policy document prescribed that we would have about 70% penetration in about 2 years' time, in 2025. I think right now we're below 50%, so we're still far from that, but it's still an achievable target. But we need to hit the ground running. We need to work with the telcos to make sure that all the issues that they face with regards to infrastructure, sabotage, rights of way access are solved, and those are things that we expect the minister to put as a high priority. Then right. The other pillars such as cyber security, ensuring that the soft infrastructure that makes people be able to and businesses be able to operate on the line is in place. We have a coherent cybersecurity posture so that nobody is able to bring down our economy or our digital economy, from the back of a laptop or from some foreign country.
That's right, Niyi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. So you've actually touched on a lot of things, and I know that the ministry has got lots and lots of different structures, different areas within the sector. But then some had already showed optimism that the fact that the president had appointed Mr. Bosun, as the one to spearhead this ministry, they felt because he's coming from the IT background, he's got IT background and has talked much, done a lot about, done a lot in this sector. Are you equally optimistic that it would be able to bring, dynamic approach to the industry as it is being targeted, because it's a very young mind, regardless of whoever it will be meeting within this sector?
That's an interesting question. So let me answer it directly. I think it's going to be successful. I've known Bosun for I first met him probably about 15 years ago when they first started the CC Hub, over 15 years ago. I was very impressed by what he was doing then. I was also running the software company in Lagos. So and I've always followed him and what they were doing and their development. So he's an achiever. That's the key thing. And as we know, the president likes to work with young people that are also achievers, right? I think, obviously, initially when the name was put up, people were grumbling, okay, who is this guy? I mean, so those of us that are one-part politicians, that are in the APC, and the other parts in the technology sector, like someone like me, I felt, first, my own reaction was that this is a good choice. It's a good technocrat, and we have to make sure that we work well with him to make sure that he succeeds. But his success is not going to be just his actions alone. He has to work with the ecosystem, the technology ecosystem, and the broader public sector, working with the civil servants, working with the existing DGs and heads of agencies and parastatals under him, and also critically, think about what his ministry is meant to do. It's like an enabler for other ministries to succeed, right? So digital services, ensuring that all these ministries are able to share data, they're able to interoperate, they're able to work with, to innovate themselves, right? From agriculture to defense. technology has a role to play for every ministry's success. So his role is not just siloed; he has to work with everybody. And I'm hoping that one of the things that I'm hoping that he will do is ensuring that in every of these ministries there's some sort of for lack of a better term, as a chief technology officer that is also working with him and ensuring that there's policy synergy between his ministry and all the other ministries, and so that we can all drive collective success.
Right, and like you said, there are notable agencies that the minister will be heading, among them about 7, at least 7. Among them is NCC, the Communications Commission, there is NITDA, IT Development Agency, there is NIPOST, there is also the NIMC, that's the Identity Management Commission. At least those are the ones that, many Nigerians can relate with, as well as, other agencies that will be under the direct supervision of Dr. Tijani. But, all these agencies have faced various dimensions of challenges in executing their core mandates. Look at the NCC, for example, now the issue of unregistered mobile lines, which is still a problem, especially when used to execute fraud. What would you like to see change this time around with a minister as Bosun Tijani now, assuming office?
Just quickly, let me just clarify something that you said. You mentioned NIMC, NIMC. NIMC is no longer under the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, Innovation and Digital Economy. It has been moved, I believe, to the Ministry of Interior. So it's no longer under the ministry, Bosun's ministry's supervision. But to answer your direct question with regards to the telecom sector and development there, I think the critical goal is to ensure that there's broadband access and infrastructure reliability. So we have critical network infrastructure all across Nigeria. We also have issues with insecurity. And one of these things that these bad actors do is try to sabotage our infrastructure. So we need to make sure that we have a database of every critical network infrastructure across our country, so that we can work with security agencies to secure them. Right, that's part of his remit, and also to ensure that and that also gives the investors, the telcos, the confidence to roll out more infrastructure. Going to schools, there are schools, as you know, again, when you move out of big cities, you start to see all different levels of quality in our school system. So we can bridge that gap by ensuring that we have broadband and internet access, down to in every single school or almost every single school in Nigeria, from primary to secondary to tertiary. So I think those are the areas we expecting to focus on, so that we can, at the end of 4 years, he will be able to present a tangible, a report card of tangible results and positive impact on the economy.
Interesting. The federal government has said that it won't be generating revenue. I mean, it won't be going a borrowing, as against, because Nigeria is heavily indebted and they're finding it very difficult to, the last administration found it difficult to, settle this debt before this administration. But then we know that the telecoms sector is also bedeviled with its own challenges. It's got a lot of, a lot of issues. Based on some of the data that I have with me, saying that the telecom access is vital to the success of the digital economy and is essential to the success of the communication services. So they've got about, without access to, they said that earlier this year, the NCC said that the number of Nigerians without access to telecommunication services fell by 37.04% to 27 million. So in all of this, the government, which is looking at taxation, generating revenue from taxation, how do you think they can they can work around this so that it doesn't stall the upgrade and expansion of services, and clearly which it clearly needs? How would you advise them to face this challenge, that they might to tackle this challenge rather that the NCC, that the telecom sector is facing?
Obviously, overtaxation tends to inhibit new investment. We definitely need a lot of investment in fiber, investment in 5G, investment in last mile wireless, wide area wireless networks. I think, I don't want to preempt what is going to the reports of the tax reform committee that Mr. President has set up. But what I would like to see is a case whereby, the taxation policy, the new taxation reform, tax reform policies are specifically ensure that, our telecoms companies have the incentives to continue to invest, right? And the infrastructure companies that are managing infrastructure on behalf of them are able to, there are some issues that they have internally with regards to, billing. For example, let's take, for example, there's this issue with the banks and the telcos and settlement of some debts. Right? Those issues are things that the minister himself needs to come in and resolve. Because without resolving these issues, they'll just continue to linger and they'll inhibit development. So I think, generally speaking, long term, we need to think about we need to optimize for infrastructure development, and anything that tries to any sort of a tax policy that short-term tax policy that inhibits that long-term growth is not in the interest of Nigerians in the long term. That's my own personal view.
The president, stressed during campaign the need to generate at least 1 million jobs in the ICT sector, and now he has appointed more or less a lieutenant, to help drive this course. And only recently we saw the minister we heard about the minister having some engagement with stakeholders in the ICT sector, and people have been talking about this. On the issue of the 1 million jobs, at least, 1 million jobs, and hoping this could even increase, what would, this drive mean for the ICT sector?
I think, if I can step back, one last time about the TVC, I talked about the importance for us to create up to 50 million jobs. That was essentially the job shortage. And even the Mr. President has acknowledged that we need 50 million jobs. I know that digital economy, their focus is on the digital economy. Federal Ministry of Digital Economy, Communication and Innovation and Digital Economy is focusing on creating at least 1 million jobs, or training up to 1 million Nigerians and helping them level up and scale up, right? And what that does is, I think it's a good target. It's a very achievable target, and it's manageable. And I think what that does is that it creates a pipeline, right, that allows new emergent behaviors and emergent business models to exist. So at the very base level, we are training young people, whether in secondary school, even down to primary school, and helping them appreciate and understand the STEM disciplines. Then up to tertiary level, you are helping them acquire specific skills, whether it's in computer networking, software development, digital marketing, and and also creative industry skills. And what that does is that once you have a large pipeline like that, first of all, obviously they need jobs, right? And one of the pillars, or the 8 pillars that is in our broadband digital economy policy and strategy plan, is that we are also going to invest in the ecosystem and build the technology and creative sector ecosystem across Nigeria. What that means in reality, that new investment will be attracted. If you recall some of the one of the speeches that the Honourable Minister made, he had ensured that he mentioned that they had secured access to about $500 million of investments. Right? I think that's probably part of the overarching Startup Act and the investment that's coming to the Startup Act from the developmental institutions across Nigeria. So, and they're going to bring in more, right? So if you step out and look at it, on one hand, we are developing our talent base, and on the other hand, we are also ensuring that we are developing our ecosystem to ensure that we can provide the jobs that these people need. Otherwise, what will happen is that when they get skills, they will just jackpot, and that may not necessarily be in our interest in the short term at the very least. So there's a strategy and there's a coordinated set of actions to ensure that we are training our people, we are training up to 1 million people, and we are filling all those gaps that we have, where people are leaving the country. We also have people that can replace them and they are skilled up properly. And then we are also developing our ecosystem so that we can provide higher paying jobs better jobs and, and give people a sense of belonging and a good standard of living in Nigeria, especially for the young people, of which is essentially one of the most important constituencies in Nigeria at the moment.
Very quickly, because we've got limited time to go, we still talking about the telecom sector. It said that we've got, according to data, we've got about 37 million people that are, in the rural area, underserved and, unserved areas. How do you think they can work on this? And the fact that we are still, I saw that you're really big on infrastructure. We're still running on IPv4. And we're talking about we want to fight security, we want to fight cyber theft and all of that. Why have we not moved to IPv6? This so that to strengthen our cyber strength.
I think the transition to IPv6, has been slow and more progressive across not just Nigeria but across the world, right? The available set of IPv4 addresses, is dwindling. So there's an increasing movement to IPv6. I don't think it's something that the government should directly mandate or anything like that. It's just something that will happen naturally, right? And as part of the general evolution of technology. But with regards to broadband penetration, as you know, we are below our target for 2025. Right, and to ensure that we can meet that target, there's some important things. So, like for example, like right-of-way access. How do we bring down the cost of per meter down to about maybe say 148 naira, something that's very low, so and manageable for that will attract investment and ensure that the people that are building out this infrastructure are incentivized and are able to get a return on their investment in the medium to long term. So reducing right-of-way fees for right-of-way access is critical. We also need to work. I think we have to think out of the box and be very resourceful and work with look at where we have the federal government at least has existing right-of-way and leverage that to ensure that as we are building out maybe the fiber networks across the country. I think that we need about 120,000 kilometers of fiber around Nigeria, which is the last estimate. And that's a lot of investment. But the last thing you want is to start paying exorbitant fees for right-of-way. So we need to work, the federal government, the state government, local government needs to work together to ensure that, all these extra fees that can be layered on top and the exorbitant rates are reduced to something that is minimal, and then there is a win-win. Not just, of course, the governments need to also generate revenue, but there also needs to be a win-win, right? Where, as the telcos are making money, and are growing, revenues are also growing for the various governments at national, right, federal, and right down to local government levels.
Niyi Gbodimowo, we thank you very much for speaking with us on TVC Breakfast. Thanks a lot for your contributions and insights. Niyi joining us from our Abuja studios.